this country is, as civil society, we know so many things, we are passionate about them, but we speak about them and nothing happens. But for me, I think what needs to be done is civil society needs to agree, work with government. We do an audit in this country about these old shops, because every attendant in any of those shops are in the great risk of dying, and they might not live past 30 years. I'm very sure. I saw one of my attendants actually lost a baby.
Agro-input dealers are required to advise smallholder farmers on pesticide use and storage when they are selling them in many other nations. However, despite Uganda's legal obligation to do so, agricultural activists claim that this obligation has not received much attention there.
Groups exposed to pesticides, production workers, when do we care about them? The people who apply. When you read the Uganda Agriculture Chemicals Control Act, it is actually an offense for someone to apply agriculture chemicals if they are not applicators. Did you know that the law provides that? Who is an applicator? An applicator is a trained person. Not every person must apply these chemicals. And that is the law. But in Uganda, everyone applies the way you understand. And sometimes on bigger farms, we have these production workers. Who protects them?
I had a research about Mbale City and the foods in Mbale City and the ecosystem of the food in Mbale City, and how dirty and contaminated and unhealthy and risky the vegetables that were being sold in all of the Mbale markets. During lunch, nobody ate salads. Everybody jumped to that serving. Everybody skipped the serving. Nobody served.
The Uganda's involvement in regional and international agreements and protocols dealing to the use and control of pesticides and other agrochemicals goes beyond just its domestic laws.
So chemicals, agrochemicals, the president is very passionate about it, and he needs some policy guidance. If you can come up with policy proposals that are really practical, that can help, we'll be very grateful to pass this information to them.
According to data collected from Central and Western Uganda by environmental health researchers in 2021, while 97.0% of the agro-input dealers considered advising customers their responsibility, only 26.6% of the misery shoppers received any advice from agro-input dealers when buying pesticides. 53.2% of the products purchased were officially recommended. Dealers of agricultural inputs displayed a low knowledge of labels and ingredients. Additionally, 10.5% of stores offered products that were not tagged or labeled, while 25.0% of stores sold repackaged products. 90.1% of businesses lacked safety equipment, while only 55.7% of the agricultural import dealers had a certificate providing their proficiency in pesticide handling. Only 5.7% could show that they had a valid current license from the government of Uganda.
According to a report by Data Reportal, 12 million out of 46 million Ugandans use the internet. In 2021, the internet penetration was rated at 26.2%. Regardless, COVID-19 was a game changer. The government claims there is no turning back. It encourages more Ugandans to utilize digital services and expand their businesses together, since the cost of internet will soon drop. It is also establishing a tribunal for consistent regulations.
Every 15 seconds, a car is moving out of the plant. And the cars are produced on order. So you can see how strong that economy is. I think let us begin now. We have begun with buses. We are going into pickups. The minister was briefing us. We are going into tractors. so that we don't assemble, we manufacture our own. There is no way e-trade can thrive without cheap internet. We are also working on that. So far, the internet cost has moved from $70 to $35 per megabyte per second. And we think in the next 6 months, we want it to be at around $25.
Mindset. Even government is trying to do business online. This is an opportune time for the e-trade and startup association. You know, when food is on the table, you don't ask people, are you hungry? You just make it look really good that they tap into it. And that's what COVID-19 has done for the e-trade and e-commerce.
The chairperson elaborated on some of the challenges facing the tech-based trade.
This is on electronics, so there's a lot we can do, and as an association we'll fight for those barriers to be removed. The consulting group that found that the tech sector alone will create 5 million jobs across Africa in the next 3 years. We want those jobs to be created in Uganda. We also see that e-trade in Uganda is growing, but it's still very small. Only about 1% of all transactions are happening online. So versus say 25% in Europe and North America. So we have a long ways to go to make sure that online business and online transactions are growing. It's accelerating. There's a high internet penetration. Ugandans want to use technology to sell, to buy, to transact, to communicate. But we have to do more to make that happen.
The economy is now private sector led. During COVID-19, service delivery was improved due to the online applications. Such associations must now be in place to ensure grave digital innovation.
Yes, welcome back from that particular report. That's regarding the e-trade. Nowadays, it's what we call the internet trade. Trading online in most cases, doing online transactions. And now let's head to tourism sector as we study that despite being one of the industries that boasts the nation's gross domestic product, the COVID-19 pandemic had a significant impact on the tourism industry. As a means of recovery, the industry passed on breast, the cooperating with the sister nations like Kenya and Rwanda, among others. Let's have the details of this report.
Uganda's tourism industry is still developing compared to its neighboring nations. The World Travel and Tourism Council estimates that Uganda's GDP is directly impacted by the tourism expenditure to the tune of 3.1% compared to Tanzania's 4.8% and Kenya's 5%. However, Ugandan tourism has a bright future. Speaking to Gesa Simplicius, the Uganda Tourism Board's public relations officer, he blamed the pandemic on the industry's subpar performance and promised a better performance now that the government and other organizations have offered their assistance to improve the performance of the sector.
However, government and its partners, World Bank, SEDEB, private sector, are coming up with facilities, loan facilities to support the sector, to streamline and support the sector and people to spring back on their feet. Of course, the recovery is slow, but it is feasible because all we need is to have visitors, people come back and slowly spend money. Because even when you put up facilities and do a revamp, if people don't come and spend money.
Smart 24 TV went ahead and discussed with the stakeholders who attended the Uganda-Kenya Tourism Workshop the impact of Uganda being in partnership with Kenya and how they are going to promote Uganda in forthcoming mega trade fair in Kenya next month.
They came with a Kenyan eye. They came to represent the Kenyan tourist. What do they like? How do they want to be treated? So that's the feedback they were sharing with us. And while they were here, they actually told us some of the things we didn't know, that we like try to despise. I want to give you an example. When they came, they talked about Namugongo, that out of Namgongo, Uganda can have a lot of visitors coming, pilgrimages. In fact, they said Uganda can be the Israel of what? Of Africa. That people come here for prayer, for all sorts of religious activities. So, and they shared with us how exactly we should package it and sell it to the Kenyans, because they will buy and they will come. So we are ready. They have already given us the areas where they think that if we want to tap in the Kenyan markets, we need to package ourselves again.
We're having a collaboration in harmonizing tour agencies and travel tourism founders in Uganda, alongside those in Kenya, coming together to really put out the beautification, the business, the tourism enterprises out there for the global market to really appreciate what Uganda has to offer vis-a-vis what Kenya, Magical Kenya, has to offer.
Stakeholders went ahead and tasked the government on how the sector can be brought back from the COVID-19 losses that were encountered.
Kenya has better developed infrastructures. They have right now Kenya has 3 international airports. They have Jomo Kenyatta, they have Kisumu International Airport, they have Mombasa. So it means that movement is easier in Kenya. Then infrastructures within the parks have been developed. Then the marketing, I cannot pull out money from my pocket to go to CNN, to go to Al Jazeera, to go to those international media and advertise about Uganda. That has to be the role of the what? The government.
Based on the data collected from some individual pilot studies, international tourist arrivals in Uganda have more doubled by May 2022 compared to 2021. The tourism sector is one of the sectors that were much affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. As a way of recovering, the Uganda tourism sector has decided to work hand in hand with the sister countries like Kenya in this post-COVID-19 process. Desire Nambiro, Smart 24 TV.
Regarding tourism, one of the sectors that was largely affected due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but on a way to recovery right there. And away from that, let's head to child cancer treatment, as they believe that pediatric oncology services are too expensive for low-income individuals. Is significant impediment to increasing childhood cancer survivability. The Pan-African Health Organization is working with the Ministry of Health to create national childhood cancer plans. That's with the goal of minimizing the suffering of children. That's with cancer achieving cancer survival rate at least by 60% come 2030. Let's have the details of this report.
Childhood cancer rates have been rising over time, and low-income families are bearing an increasing share of the burden. There were 175 new cases of pediatric cancer worldwide in 2008. In 2017, 11.5 million people worldwide were affected by childhood cancer, with low, middle-income households bearing 82% of the burden.
All right, thank you so much, Mami Amara. We are going to ask.
Cancer treatment takes more than 3 years, and Uganda still lacks the ability to develop medications for the treatment. As a result, these pharmaceuticals are imported, increasing their price and making them expensive for most individuals.
Commonest cancer in children takes about 3 years if you're a boy, 2 years for a girl, depending on the type of cancer or leukemia you could have. So some of the expenses people would incur normally would be expenses with drugs. So the drugs we use to treat cancer are called chemotherapy agents. So these drugs most of them are not manufactured in Uganda, and they would have to be imported. So that the chemotherapy agents vary. There are so many of them. I can't list them all.
When a child comes and reports and has a sign of cancer, the expenses are really high. For example, some of the investigations that we do, CT scans, laboratory tests, can cost as low as between 250,000 to up to 600,000. And that's just one of the tests that a patient has to do to diagnose. Some of the pathology tests and the lab tests can cost, an individual can pay between 500,000 and 1 million. And this is just to test and to find out what kind of cancer they have.
Methotrexate, which is a drug we use set in the treatment of lymphomas. One vial could go for about 20,000, 25,000.
Started on treatment. The chemotherapy drugs are very expensive. They vary from as low as maybe, let's say, 50,000 going up to 1 million. So a child in the community has to spend almost like 3 million plus on treatment. And many of the children that we see are from very poor communities. They can't even afford transport to come from home to the hospital. That alone is something that they cannot afford.
Years of life wasted, larger inequities and financial hardships are all consequences of childhood cancer. With the advent of free cancer treatments for children in Uganda, this situation might change.
All treatment for children is free of charge. There's no single expense that a person has to foot in terms of drugs, in terms of consultations for the doctors, in terms of radiological investigations, in terms of radiotherapy, in terms of surgery, or occupational health. All of that is free of charge. But to answer your question, in the event that that opportunity was not there, first of all, transport here alone is a huge challenge and is a huge barrier for people getting care. It has been exacerbated by COVID-19 and made worse by the whole global increase in inflation.
The treatment and diagnosis that are given here are all given for free. So a patient who comes here, they should not worry about that. All the tests are free, all the medication is free.
Mulago Hospital is educating the public about the impacts of cancer during the week-long cancer awareness campaign.
We are going into the hospitals, because this is where the families go. So we are going and doing CMEs, that's continued medical education with the healthcare workers, telling them about the services we provide to Mulago, telling them about signs and symptoms of childhood cancer, so that when they find some children who are sick of cancer, they can refer them to our hospital.
Across various African countries, childhood cancer treatment units represent cost-effective interventions. Cost effectiveness can be increased through the control of drug prices, appropriate policy environments, and decreasing the rate of treatment abandonment. These results will inform national childhood cancer strategies across Africa. Naomi Mtumba.
And now let's wind this up with the digitization of the land titles. As Honorable Dr. Sam Mayanja, the Minister of Land, has provided the public with an update on the state of the land industry. The implementation of digitization storage that's of land titles, according to Minister, has advanced title and security. However, James Galabuzi, the chair of the Uganda Land Owners Association, says that the new land information system does not provide with the most recent history of fraud. Let's have the details of this report.
Honorable Dr. Sam Mayanja, the State Minister for Lands, told Smart 24 TV that the sector has made some progress in the land information system, which updates people who wish to amend their land titles.
The storage of land titles. Now you cannot just forge a land title. The land title has now security features. It has a special number. It has your telephone number. It has your national ID number. So when it comes out, and the system is such that that title is to the person, and the system is that there is now a portal which is in place When anybody tampers on your title in the land registry, it will alert you. So nobody is going to tamper now with the security of the custody of the land titles and land information in this country anymore. That system is the first of its kind in Africa.
Reassured the public that the new land information system does not update the histories of fraud on that land, indicating that a return of previous system is necessary.
The current owner, it doesn't give you the chronology of past history. So you may never know where the fraud is. Yet the old system, where a white page would be certified, it would show you at least some history of the owners, past of that land. Today, it is no longer applicable.
The minister also says that they presented report proposals of Bamgemeleire to His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni to review on how to manage land.
Inquiry into the land administration of land in Uganda, which this has ever been put in Uganda since independence. And it produced this report, I think, about 3 years ago. It was submitted to His Excellency. His Excellency accepted the recommendation, and the cabinet set up a committee, subcommittee, to propose how those recommendations are going to be implemented. That subcommittee is still working. And when it finalizes its work, it will submit its report to the cabinet. The cabinet may agree or change whatever they propose on how to implement those proposals. Now, what will come out will be now the way forward for Uganda for the next first year of people on how to manage land. But remember, the basic principles are set out in the Constitution. The basic tenancies, the basic rights. Article 28, guaranteeing the ownership of property to Ugandan. The article I've read to you, 237.8, on security of occupancy of Chibanja holder. Article 237.9, right to a title to every Ugandan. These cannot change. These are constitutional rights. These others which will come out will be administrative issues, maybe land education should be by a separate court system, how to manage wetlands, how to manage forests, national parks. These are administrative, managerial issues, but the fundamental guarantees of the rights of Ugandans to land are there in the Constitution.
Furthermore, James Galavzi, the chairperson, Uganda Land Owners Association, pledged the government to publicize the reported proposal for Justice Catherine Bamgemeleire so that they understand what is in it.
I can't say anything because the report is not yet out. I pray to government that the report is made public so that we can read the contents and advise accordingly. But now I've never received the report from Justice Bamgemeleire's Commission on Land Management, although I appeared before that commission 2 times. That was in 2018, 2 times. So I look forward to the day I receive that report, go through it, and then I'll make a comment or recommendations accordingly.
And let's wind this up finally with the dormant accounts, as we understand what these dormant accounts are and what's the way forward in case you last long without depositing money onto your account. Let's have the details of this particular report.
The law defines a dormant account as one which has not had any activity for a period of 2 years, upon which money on these accounts is transferred into a separate register and an issuance note is given to the holder of this account to alert them on the action that has been taken by the bank.
An account becomes dormant in a commercial bank when you take 2 years without making any transaction on that account. And by transaction we mean, have you deposited some money there or have you withdrawn? At least if you're not putting their money, at least withdraw.
After the 2 years, the holder of such accounts have an obligation to come and reactivate their accounts.
If your account goes 2 years without it, becomes dormant, we shall tell the bank to remove you from here and they put you in dormant account register because you now have some issue to sort. Along that time, we're expecting you, the customer, to come and reactivate your account.
If the money is unclaimed for a period of 5 years, commercial banks usually take this money to the central bank, which is Bank of Uganda. However, still the depositor or his or her legal representative still have a period of 5 years to claim for this money. And failure to do so, this money is already taken to the consolidated funds.
By 3 years after advertising, no one has come to check on the account. The law is clear. We shall get, the financial institutions are supposed to get all those accounts, plus the monies that are there, plus the information pertaining to those accounts, and they bring it to Bank of Uganda. For what? For safety. 5 years. The moment the money comes here, you have all again the period of 5 years to be come here to claim for your money. You come here because it's safe now here. When you wake up and remember, oh, I had an account with the bank ABCD, and the money was there, you come here, you claim, we have the information, the bank has given us the information, we shall give you money back. However, if it takes more than 10 years, you forfeit. Because now, even our documentation processes, after 10 years, the records seem to be even obsolete.
However, one may ask, why would someone abandon his or her account? The general public has different reasons as to why they abandon their accounts. One of the many reasons is the unfair charges from banks.
Personally, I've also ever adopted my bank account. I left it there just because of the behaviors that those workers there, some of them, they are not customer friendly. They are rude, most cases. So as for us as customers, I think we need a good working environment sometimes. Charges. They can come to us telling us, students, your charges will be like this, there will be little, the discounts, but in actual sense, it's the same. Instead, they're going increasing it. So with that, why shouldn't I abandon a bank?
Withdrawal charges can also limit someone from operating with the bank. Let's say, like, for example, Absa Bank. Some people are mainly limited the charges and the transactions. But they have abandoned their accounts there because of just the charges. The charges are high. Yeah.
For the case of electronic money accounts or mobile money, if the account is not activated within 6 months after it is blocked, then it is closed, upon which balances on such accounts are transferred to the central bank. And if the money is not claimed for a period of 7 years, the central bank transfers this money to the consolidated funds. Monica Nabionga, Smart 24 TV.
That's regarding that particular report, as there is a rising number of dormant accounts. And that's it for the recap. Let's get into a short commercial break. We'll return with more business insights. Good morning.